I got a story for you guys. You guys like story time with Paul Bebe? This one's about a guy named Josh. Josh didn't think anything was wrong, not at first. She smiled at him the way people do when they want to be polite, not real. She answered texts, but rarely asked questions. She let him in just enough to keep him wondering, and yet it felt familiar. Almost like a rhythm he had heard before, long before her. Like walking through a house that looked new, but had the same layout as the one he grew up in. Most people think they're choosing something different when they meet someone new, but sometimes what feels comfortable has nothing to do with peace. It has everything to do with recognition. Josh didn't realize he had seen her before, not in a literal sense, of course, but in the emotional way, because he wasn't reacting to her. He was reacting to the version of connection he learned in childhood. His father was there, but his presence stayed just out of reach. He wasn't cruel, he just didn't reach back. So Josh became the one who worked harder, tried harder, waited longer. And without knowing it, he started calling that hard work love. He started seeing emotional distance as a sign to lean in, not walk away. The women changed, but the feeling didn't. They all made him feel like love was something you proved, something you performed well enough to receive. 3 relationships in a row ended with the same feeling: a slow withdrawal, a vague goodbye, and the ache of realizing he had once again tried to turn a quiet room into a safe one. Then one evening, something changed. He was at dinner with men who didn't try to impress each other. They weren't posturing or comparing resumes. They were just there, fully real. He told his story. He expected advice. Instead, he got a question. One man looked at him and said calmly, "Do you think she was distant? Or do you think that just felt normal?" And it landed like a pause in his chest, because for the first time, he wasn't being given an answer. He was being invited to see his own pattern. That night, he didn't go home and make a list. He didn't read 10 tips or rewatch old messages. He sat with the question, and that question led to another and another until the image became clear. He wasn't drawn to who these women were. He was drawn to what they echoed. And once he saw that, it became easier to breathe, easier to choose different rooms where he didn't feel like he had to perform. What helped him wasn't another book or another solo retreat. It was proximity with real men and unfiltered truth. And without announcing it, he began to change. The need to fix things faded. The silence no longer felt like home. Now, when a room feels cold, Josh doesn't try to explain it away. He knows what it means. And more importantly, he knows he doesn't belong there. If part of this sounds like your story, you're not alone, and you don't need more information. You need different mirrors. When the right men surround you, the past starts to lose its grip, not because you push it away, but because you stop letting it choose for you. The room is always open. You just have to walk in. For you guys going through the breakup recovery process, let me ask you, are you really missing her, brother? Or the version of you that needed her? Guys, just want to remind you that we are having our monthly pod class for the Wolf Pack on Saturday. Brother Kamal, one of our resident crypto experts, is going to give you guys a clinic on how to get into cryptocurrency investments if you guys haven't done it yet. There's a lot of stories in the news right now. Ethereum is like skyrocketing. And if you've been thinking for years about getting into crypto and you're just like, I don't know where to start, get into Wolfpack. Go to wolf.comeonmanpod for that. And then if you guys want to work with me directly, you can book a call by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. I'll drop a link in the chat for that as well. It's also in the description. All right. Let's fix all this, guys. Now it's time for the actionable advice. Okay. So like anything else in life, awareness is the first step. Let me change what's on the screen here. Awareness is the first step, right? There's different ways to really start bubbling this stuff up and start understanding your patterns in relationships. But you can start with journaling. You can start by just be aware of your reactions to things in the moment. And what are your recurring thoughts when you're in a relationship? What things that like always tend to bubble up for you? Okay. That's how you really start recognizing those patterns, when you start becoming aware of those. I would recommend, especially for you guys that are already reading Forget That Bitch, is to grab the workbook that goes along with that. I had a guy in Wolfpack this morning saying he's read Forget That Bitch a couple of times. He's read Psychology Paradigms a couple of times, and he wanted to do more. And I was like, well, have you done the workbook yet? Do the workbook, because the workbook is really designed to dig out these old patterns and get you to recognize this stuff. And it's like 10 minutes a day. And the idea is just 10 minutes a day, either in the morning or at night, just fill in the prompts. There's like 3 prompts a day, and every week there's a weekly challenge for you. Okay. It's a good way to be more interactive and not just be passive and listen to books and tune into podcasts and stuff. Okay. So grab that. I dropped a link in the chat. You can go to workbook.getoveryourx.us to grab the workbook. It goes hand in hand with the book, by the way, if you're listening to that on audio. We want to reframe internal beliefs. We want to reframe these beliefs from I'm not enough to I deserve connection that matches my values. What is a reframe? If you guys aren't familiar with a reframe, it's an NLP term, and basically it's just a way of looking at things from a different point of view. Who here is a Star Wars fan? And when Luke Skywalker found out that Darth Vader was really his father, Anakin Skywalker, and he went to Obi-Wan Kenobi and he said, "You told me that Anakin killed, or that Darth Vader killed my father." And what did Obi-Wan say? Well, it's true from a different point of view, right? If you reframe it a different way and look at it from a different point of view, it can become true in a different way, right? It's like looking at things from a different perspective. It's a really handy tool, right? We got to put in some emotional reps, bro. I know we're all supposed to be these rational guys and not have any emotions, but we have emotions. We're not robots, and you should feel bad for having emotions. Just kidding. But you got to put in some emotional reps. Okay. You've got to actively show up differently in relationships, right? If you notice yourself wanting to go this way and you're aware of it and you're like, oh crap, I know I'm not supposed to do this, go a different way. Right? That's going to take active effort. One thing that I find myself doing, I still do it. I still do it, is one of the things that I talk about a lot in the podcast, right? Is that the women don't care about your struggles. They may want to care, they may think they care, but they're just not wired for it. So if you bring your girl your struggles, she's going to start losing attraction for you. Well, sometimes conversations come up about my day with Nurse Chick, and sometimes the day wasn't the best day in the world. And so sometimes I'll catch myself talking about all the struggles I've had throughout the day. But because I'm so keenly aware of this stuff, when I notice myself in the moment doing it, I immediately sort of snap out of it and then add a positive spin to it, right? I add oh, but don't worry, I'll figure it out tomorrow, or tomorrow's going to be a better day. I got this handled, right? I have to actively in the moment change that, because that's an old pattern, right? That's an old habit. Another one that I will catch myself doing on occasion, because it's so hard for us guys to do this, is not try to fix Nurse Chick's problems. We are wired as men to fix problems, right? So when a girl comes to us and she's talking about, how Becky from accounting is a bitch, and you just want to fix that problem for her, and you're like, oh, well, have you tried talking to She doesn't want that from you, right? Well, I recognize that now. We don't actually have to own our girls' problems, and we don't actually have to do anything to fix their problems. And it's kind of freeing. But every once in a while, I find myself falling back on the old pattern of giving unsolicited advice. And so when I catch myself in the moment, I've done this in the past. I distinctly remember this one time I was doing that to Nurse Chick. I started telling her whatever, and then I caught myself mid-sentence, and I was like, do you want my advice, or do you just want me to listen? Right. And the thing is about Nurse Chick is she tunes into every episode. She's read all the books I've read. She's as into this stuff as I am, because you know, she's a fan of the show and stuff like that too, right? So I would venture to say she's my biggest fan. So she knows what I'm doing in the moment. She knows it, right? Like the curtain's been pulled back. She knows what I'm doing in the moment, but she appreciates it. Like a big smile lit up on her face when she recognized what I was doing in the moment, right? So that's emotional reps though, right? It's like lifting the heavy weights. You actually have to actively go out and try to practice the stuff. You can't just read this shit and expect to do it, to execute it perfectly. You actually have to go out and practice some of this stuff, right? Every time you respond with awareness instead of impulse, you're training your system to expect something new. Okay. Most people think they have to feel different before they act different, but it's actually the other way around a lot of the times. Okay. If you've ever heard of the expression act as if or fake it till you make it, it's a way to actively start acting in the way that you want to act, and that it by itself will start reprogramming your mind, you know, especially if that's a goal of yours, is to reprogram the paradigm. You can start externally by acting in that way now, even if it doesn't feel normal at first. Just start doing it. The more you start doing it, the more it'll start feeling normal. You're going to build these new patterns. When you catch yourself about to react the way you always have and choose something calmer, more grounded, you're giving your nervous system new instructions.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.